Okay, so all the stuff that we've been looking at about friendships, it's really it's pretty interesting, right? Like, it's something we all think about, especially as we get a little bit older and,
Yeah.
we really want to figure out who's genuinely there for us.
Yeah.
And, who maybe isn't.
Right?
So for you, our listener, you wanted to get a really solid understanding of those tricky dynamics without feeling like you're, reading a psychology textbook or anything.
Right.
So today we're diving deep into the Mental Health Channel's podcast, 7 Things Only Fake Friends Do.
Okay.
And layering in some extra psychological insights to really get to the bottom of these behaviors.
Okay, cool.
Our goal today is to give you actionable knowledge that you can use so you can recognize those less than authentic connections and invest in the friendships that actually make you feel good.
Yeah.
So we're going to be unpacking 7 specific things that fake friends tend to do.
Okay.
Let's jump right into the first one. Self-serving contact.
All right, so the really interesting thing about this one, right off the bat, is how it speaks to just the very nature of a balanced relationship.
Yeah.
Right? So think of this person, they only seem to appear when they need something. A favor, your expertise, maybe even just an introduction.
Oh.
Right? Outside of those requests, it's radio silence.
Yeah, it's like they fall off the face of the earth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so psychologically, this can point to something a little bit deeper than just occasional reliance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it suggests this transactional mindset where the focus is primarily on what they can gain rather than a mutual exchange of support and care.
Right.
It makes you think about their underlying view of relationships, right? Like, is this how they approach every relationship?
Yeah, it makes you feel less like a friend and more, like you were saying, like just a resource, like a walking, talking,
Utility.
Utility, exactly.
Yeah.
And, that feeling, that little ping of, oh, they need something when you see their name pop up after months of no contact. Right.
Like, oh, what is it this time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the impact of this can really chip away at you. Like, you start to question your own value in the relationship. Resentment can build, and it's just emotionally exhausting.
Oh, absolutely.
To constantly be on the receiving end of this one-way street.
It is.
So think about it. Someone you haven't heard from since last Thanksgiving suddenly calls needing a huge favor.
Right.
Like helping them move their entire apartment this weekend.
Right.
You go out of your way, you break your back, and then nothing.
Poof.
Gone.
Yep.
Not even a thank you that feels genuine.
Right.
That pattern is a real red flag.
Absolutely. And if we try to understand this at a deeper level,
Yeah.
we might consider how this behavior could actually be linked to certain personality traits
Okay.
or even attachment styles.
Interesting.
So, for instance, someone with more narcissistic tendencies might view relationships primarily through the lens of their own needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or an insecure attachment style could manifest as only reaching out when they have a need rather than seeking consistent connection.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, this isn't about diagnosing anyone,
Right.
but it does give us a better understanding of the why behind the behavior.
All right. The motivation.
Exactly.
Okay, so then this constant feeling of being used can really deplete your emotional reserves,
Oh, for sure.
which leads us to the second behavior, absence in adversity.
Yeah. This one's a big one.
This one feels particularly significant, I think.
Yeah.
When life throws you a curveball,
Yeah.
when you're facing a real challenge,
Uh-huh.
these are the friends who are suddenly nowhere to be found.
Exactly.
Whether it's a personal crisis or you're dealing with an illness
Right.
or just going through a tough emotional period, they're just conspicuously absent.
It's like they just disappear.
It really makes you wonder where they were when you really needed them.
Yeah. And the psychological consequences here can be pretty intense.
I bet.
When you're already feeling vulnerable and isolated, that lack of support from a friend
Yeah.
can amplify those negative feelings and even contribute to depression.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's some well-established research out there, like the work of Cohen and Wills.
Okay.
It shows how social support actually acts as a buffer against stress.
Okay.
So when that buffer that you thought you had
Right.
isn't there, the impact of whatever you're going through could feel so much worse.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the practical help either.
Yeah.
It's about the emotional validation and feeling like you're not alone in your struggle.
It's that feeling of being totally alone when you thought you had someone in your corner.
Exactly.
Okay, the third behavior is betrayal through gossip.
Ooh, yeah. This one cuts deep.
This one really cuts deep.
It does. It strikes at the very core of trust,
Yeah.
which is the foundation of any healthy friendship.
Right.
When someone you consider a friend is gossiping about you or spreading rumors, It's a fundamental breach of that trust. It signals a serious lack of loyalty and undermines that sense of safety
Yeah.
and confidentiality that you should feel in a close relationship.
Right.
Makes you wonder if they're talking about you behind your back.
Yeah.
What else are they capable of?
Exactly. And the mental health fallout from this can be really significant.
Oh, yeah.
You know, discovering that someone you confided in has been sharing your private information or spreading rumors can be just devastating.
Absolutely.
It can shatter your trust, not just in that person, but like you said earlier, it can even create this general sense of distrust in other people.
Right. You start to question everyone.
Yeah, and your self-esteem can really plummet, and you might even find yourself constantly wondering, who can you actually rely on?
Yeah, it can breed paranoia for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, drawing on attachment theory,
Okay.
the security we feel in our relationships is largely based on trust.
Yeah.
So when that trust is violated in such a fundamental way, it can really disrupt our internal working model of relationships,
Okay.
making us more anxious and insecure in future connections.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it can make it harder to form close bonds because that sense of safety has been compromised.
Right.
So the impact really extends beyond just the immediate hurt.
It creates this ripple effect of insecurity.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to behavior number 4. Excessive criticism.
All right.
Now, this isn't about a friend offering constructive feedback when you ask for it.
Right? Exactly. This is a pattern of criticism that consistently tears you down rather than builds you up.
Yeah.
It's characterized by judgmental comments,
Yeah.
belittling remarks that are maybe disguised as, just being honest,
Right.
and a persistent focus on your perceived flaws, often without any genuine intention to help you grow
Right.
or improve.
Yeah.
It feels more like they're trying to diminish you.
Yeah. And the psychological impact of this constant negativity can be really corrosive.
It is.
It breeds anxiety, makes you constantly second-guess yourself, and paints this distorted, negative picture of your capabilities and your worth.
Absolutely.
You start to internalize those criticisms and develop deep-seated insecurities.
Right. It's like they're constantly pointing out everything you're doing wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the source material's connection to self-determination theory is really insightful here.
Okay.
We all have this fundamental need for autonomy, feeling in control of our lives,
Right.
and competence,
Yeah.
feeling capable and effective,
Yeah.
supportive relationships nurture these needs.
Right.
But when you have a friend who's constantly criticizing you,
Uh-huh.
they're actively undermining your sense of competence
Right.
and potentially your autonomy by making you doubt your decisions.
Wow.
And this can have a direct negative impact on your motivation and overall well-being.
It's like they're trying to keep your wings clipped.
Hold it back.
Okay, so the 5th behavior is indifference to success.
Ooh, this one stings.
This has a particular sting to it.
It does.
Yeah.
Because when you share good news,
Yeah.
you celebrate an achievement,
Yeah.
or you're excited about something positive in your life,
Yeah.
a genuine friend will share in your joy.
Yeah. They're happy for you.
They're happy for you, right? A fake friend, on the other hand,
Yeah.
might respond with indifference,
Uh-huh.
jealousy masked as nonchalance,
Right.
or even try to downplay your accomplishments,
Yeah.
or quickly shift the focus back to themselves.
Right.
It's like your successes make them uncomfortable.
It leaves you feeling so undervalued and almost invisible in that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
You've poured your energy into something you're proud of the outcome,
Yeah.
and instead of that shared excitement you expect from a friend, you're met with a flat reaction or even negativity.
It's like a punch to the gut.
Yeah, it really chips away at your self-esteem.
It does.
And makes you question whether they truly care about your happiness.
Yeah, and research in positive psychology
Okay.
has actually highlighted the importance of something called capitalization.
What is that? So capitalization is the act of sharing positive experiences and having them acknowledged and celebrated by others.
Oh, okay.
This is a vital part of strengthening relationships.
Okay.
So when those opportunities for shared positive moments
Right.
are consistently met with indifference or negativity,
Uh-huh.
it really deprives the friendship of a vital element
Yeah.
that fosters connection and mutual support.
Right.
It can lead to a growing sense of emotional distance
Okay.
and a feeling that the other person just isn't invested in your well-being.
It's like they can only connect with you when you're struggling,
Yeah,
not when you're thriving.
exactly.
Okay. The 6th behavior is emotional manipulation.
All right, this one's a tough one.
This one sounds particularly unhealthy.
Yeah, it is. It's a hallmark of a toxic dynamic.
Okay.
This involves using tactics like guilt tripping,
Ah.
exploiting your vulnerabilities or your kindness,
Ah.
or even employing manipulative phrases designed to control your behavior.
Or get you to do what they want.
Okay.
You know, they might say things like, if you were a real friend, you'd do this for me.
Yeah, or remind you of all the things they've done for you in the past.
Exactly. Leverage past favors to create this sense of obligation that feels unhealthy.
Right.
Yeah.
And the psychological impact of this kind of emotional manipulation can be really significant.
Oh, it is?
It creates a constant state of confusion, anxiety, and guilt.
Yeah.
You start to question your own perceptions and boundaries.
Right.
And you can feel trapped in this cycle of obligation and resentment.
Absolutely.
It really erodes your sense of personal agency and makes
Well.
it so difficult to assert your own needs.
Right. You're constantly trying to please them.
Yeah.
And, research on coercive control.
Okay.
Now, this is often discussed in the context of intimate partner violence,
Right.
but it's also applicable in other close relationships.
Okay.
Highlights how these manipulative tactics create a power imbalance and can have a deeply damaging effect on the victim's mental and emotional health.
Wow.
Can lead to increased anxiety, depression, and a significant undermining of their self-worth
Right.
and autonomy.
So it's really serious.
It is, you feel like you're walking on eggshells all the time.
It's like they're playing games with your emotions and you're always the one losing.
Exactly.
Okay, finally, the seventh behavior is behavioral inconsistency.
Okay.
This must be incredibly disorienting.
Oh, it is. This is the friend who's warm, engaging, and supportive one moment,
Yeah.
and then inexplicably distant, cold, or dismissive the next.
Right.
Often without any clear trigger or explanation.
Right.
This unpredictability creates a constant state of uncertainty
Yeah.
and emotional instability for the other person.
Yeah, you never know where you stand.
You never know where you stand with them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you're constantly trying to analyze their behavior.
Right.
Wondering what you might have done wrong to cause this shift.
Yeah. Did I say something? Did I do something?
Yeah, exactly. And it must make it incredibly difficult to develop any real sense of trust or security
It does. It really does.
in the relationship.
Yeah.
You're always on edge,
Right.
waiting for the next change in their demeanor.
Exactly. And, drawing on attachment theory again,
Okay.
this kind of inconsistent behavior actually mirrors the patterns of unreliable caregivers in childhood,
Oh, wow.
which can then lead to anxious attachment styles in adulthood.
So it can really have long-term effects.
It contributes to this persistent fear of rejection,
Right.
difficulty trusting others,
Yeah.
and a heightened sensitivity to perceived slights.
Okay.
And it even disrupts your ability to regulate your own emotions
Wow.
because you're constantly reacting to their fluctuating moods.
So we've really gone in depth into these 7 behaviors,
Yeah,
and it's striking how interconnected they are
they are.
and how cumulatively damaging they can be.
Yeah.
You know, that constant anxiety, the erosion of self-worth,
Right.
the emotional exhaustion, and that fundamental breakdown of trust.
Yeah.
Really a clear picture.
It is. And what's so important for you, our listener, to understand
Yeah.
is that these behaviors rarely occur in isolation.
Right.
They often form a pattern,
Okay.
creating a toxic environment for your emotional well-being.
Right. And like the source material mentioned, and as research has shown,
Yes.
these kinds of negative relationship dynamics
Yeah.
are consistently linked to increased stress levels,
Right.
poor mental health, and reduced resilience
Absolutely.
in the face of life's challenges.
Yeah.
So it's not just about feeling a bit down after an interaction.
Yeah.
It can have real lasting effects on your health and happiness.
Absolutely. It's serious stuff.
So for our listeners, starting to recognize these red flags in their own relationships is that first step.
Yeah, that's key.
So what are some key indicators that we should be paying attention to?
Okay, well, first off, look for patterns rather than isolated incidents.
Okay.
Is there a recurring theme of one-sidedness in the relationship? How do you consistently feel after spending time with this person?
Uh-huh.
Do you often find yourself feeling emotionally drained,
Okay.
uncomfortable, confused, or undervalued?
Right.
These internal signals are really important data points.
Okay. Yeah, those are good things to pay attention to.
Yeah, and once you start to identify these patterns,
Mm-hmm.
what are some practical steps you can take to protect yourself?
That's a good question.
Okay, well, setting clear and firm boundaries is paramount.
Okay.
This might involve learning to say no to unreasonable requests without feeling guilty.
Right.
limiting the amount of time and emotional energy you invest in the relationship,
Yeah.
or being more selective about the personal information you share.
Okay.
Initiating an open and honest conversation about your concerns can sometimes be a good starting point.
Yeah.
But be prepared for the possibility that a fake friend might become defensive or dismissive.
Right. They might not want to hear it.
Exactly. And ultimately, and this is really important, prioritizing your own well-being might necessitate creating some distance from those toxic relationships.
It sounds like consciously cultivating those reciprocal, supportive friendships is the best way to counteract these negative experiences.
It absolutely is actively nurturing connections built on mutual respect, trust, empathy, and genuine support.
Yeah.
Serves as a powerful buffer
Okay.
against the negative effects of inauthentic relationships.
So it's like an antidote.
Exactly. These are the friendships that genuinely nourish your soul and enhance your resilience.
So the key takeaway for you today is recognizing these 7 distinct behaviors.
Yeah.
They act as crucial warning signs,
Uh-huh.
helping you to differentiate between the friendships that enrich your life
Right.
and those that might be undermining your mental health.
Absolutely.
And remembering the profound impact of authentic connection
Yes.
on our emotional well-being
It's everything.
is absolutely paramount.
It is, and this brings us to a really important point for your own personal reflection. I want you to consider the emotional energy you are currently investing in your various friendships.
Okay.
Are those investments consistently yielding genuine support, mutual understanding, and positive connection?
Yeah.
Or, after reflecting on these 7 insights, do you recognize patterns
Right.
that suggest some of those investments might be draining your resources
Okay.
in ways that are detrimental to your well-being?
That's a good question to ask.
It's a worthwhile exercise to honestly assess the emotional returns you're getting
Yeah.
on your relational investments.
I think that's a great place to leave it
Yeah.
for our listener today.